It's time to turn the lights down. Let's get this Tuesday night party started.
Attention, attention.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
It's time to tap in the Ring with Al Jones, the undisputed greatest boxing show in the world on 1490 WERE, NewsTalkCleveland.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, to another In the Ring with your man, Al Jones. That's right, it's going down, ladies and gentlemen. So, once again, hey, we had an electrifying weekend of boxing. So what I need you to do, as soon as possible, get your popcorn out, get that Orville Red and vodka out, baby, because you're in for another.
Wash your hands, avoid sick people, and touching your face. These are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. Brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and News Talk 1490.
Kia of Streetsboro, 99 cents get you driving. Kia of Streetsboro, 99 cents down. Kia of Streetsboro, stop in and see how much you'll save. Kia of Streetsboro, Kia of Streetsboro.com.
Autumn is here, and the prices at Kia of Streetsboro continue to fall. Come into Kia of Streetsboro and check out our 450 pre-owned vehicles in stock at the lowest prices of the year. New cars are arriving daily. And as always at Kia of Streetsboro, just 99 cents down gets you driving. Stuck in a lease? We buy all leases no matter what manufacturer. That's right. Apply your current equity towards one of our vehicles or receive a check. Tap into your car's current equity and get a brand new Kia. The fall sale at Kia of Streetsboro. Shop Kia of Streetsboro online 24/7 at KiaofStreetsboro.com. That's KiaofStreetsboro.com. Residency restrictions may apply. See dealer for additional details.
KiaofStreetsboro.com.
Hi, I'm Kathy Hughes, and I'm very happy to report that our strategy of Buy Black Tuesdays is beginning to work for the black businesses in our radio markets. Thank you to each and every one of you who's already participating, and each week making a conscious effort to spend some money with a black-owned business, whether on the local or on the national level. Commitment and conscious awareness of the power of our spending will slowly but surely have an impact on the economic growth in our communities. Now that you are doing conscious spending, how about encouraging your family and friends to join us? Because this can really work if we all participate. The recommended businesses for this week are
Sador Inc. LLC, DS Accessories, online at dsaccessories.llc@gmail.com. Powell Simon Brand, online at powellsimonbrand.com.
Thank you.
A girl that you tried to date, but a year to make love, she wanted you to wait. Let me tell you a story of my situation. I was talking to this girl from the U.S. nation.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Had a little small technical difficulty there, but I hope you had the opportunity to get your popcorn ready, because we're going to recap. And I mean, man, oh man, we had a dynamite weekend in boxing. Welcome again to In the Ring with Al Jones. I'm here with Chicago's finest, from Brawlers Sports Media, CEO Rick Muhammad. What's going on, Rick?
What's up, baby? How y'all doing? Let's go, champs. Man, what a hell of a weekend we had in boxing.
Woo. Absolutely, man. Oh, my goodness. I can't wait to get started. Wow. Hey, we're going to start off, though, Rick. Always, the gentlemen that we are, ladies definitely have to go first. We have to dive into it. I mean, they were scrapping over in the UK. We're going to start off with one of Ohio's own, Alicia Baumgardner, who faced a very tough opponent in Michaela Mayers. I mean, hey, Rick, those two young ladies, beautiful women, I may add, Those two ladies, I mean, they scrapped and scrapped in the UK, man. It was going down at the first all-women's female card in boxing. Can you believe that, Rick?
No doubt. And the word is they had over 2 million viewers watching women's boxing this past weekend all the way across the pond, man. And Alicia Baumgardner did her thing, take nothing away from the champion that Michaela Mayer is. She was awesome. She also did her thing. I felt like Alicia put more pressure on her like she was supposed to. She stayed in her chest. She got her hands off, and she stayed busy. Whereas Michaela, with that height and that reach, she should have been busier, much busier, keeping her at bay with her jab. But needless to say, Alicia Baumgardner prevailed, and she was the better fighter that night. And that was a hell of a fight. Whoever you had in the corner as a pick'em, neither fighter let us down that night, man. That was a great, great fight.
Absolutely. Alicia Baumgardner, it was for unification, for the Super Featherweight Championship unification match. She won in a split decision, Rick. And man, it was very close, I must add. It was a very close split decision. It could have went either way, but it went the right way. I had Alicia Baumgardner winning by a hair. I mean, I really enjoyed her lateral movement, very consistent, and throughout the fight, she would hit Mayer with that solid right hand. I love the combinations that Alicia was doing, Baumgardner. I mean, she really displayed her boxing skills to become unified super featherweight champ of the world. It was a very good display between those two. And I was very impressed with both Michaela Mayer and Alicia Baumgardner. You know, Alicia's from outside of Columbus, Rick, Ohio.
Yeah, I know. And, like you said, we have to salute both of those champions because both of those queens did their thing.
Absolutely. And I totally agree with you. I was expecting for Mayer to be a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more punch output, but, I mean, she kind of lost it in the weigh-ins when they had to come in between Baumgardner and Mayer, and she threw a kick. It kind of threw me off to see Michaela Mayer throw a kick. I mean, not throw a kick to try to kick Alicia Baumgardner in the weigh-offs, man. So that kind of threw me off. It kind of lets you know that Alicia got up under her skin throughout the week and the fight of, the hype of the fight. So I really thought she was going to come out and really press the issue and, channel that aggression a little more.
Yeah, and in the interviews, I caught on to something that when they interviewed Michaela Mayer, and she was saying how she had paid her dues and gone through all the tough fights and all the tests to get where she is, and nobody ever heard of Alicia Baumgardner, and all of a sudden, here she comes, and she's making the money that we had to wait on to make. Hey, that's the game, and that's how times change just that quick in this sport. So don't hate the player, hate the game. I mean, don't knock Alicia Baumgardner for being in the position she's in now to have her fruits much earlier handed to her than it took you to get there. It's just the way the sport, and it turns like that over time and over the years. So, that kind of bothered Michaela right there, that she felt like, hey, who is this nobody I'm about to fight? But that was the wrong answer, because that nobody was a somebody. She came all the way to your backyard to show you just who her somebody being was.
Exactly. I totally agree. I mean, and that's with any sport, though, Rick. You know what I'm saying? In really any profession, that you're in. I mean, they start off where you might be at right now. You can't, like you say, don't hate the player, hate the game. That's just how it is. I mean, I'm sure Julius Erving wish he had the opportunity to make LeBron James money. You know what I'm saying, Rick? So you can't knock that. And right now you have the younger generation kids that's in the senior year in high school, they're signing Nike contracts now and getting endorsements from Beats. And, it's so much, you really can't hate that. You just got to go along with it, accept it, do your thing, and see what you can come up out of it.
I mean, look at Floyd Money Mayweather. He's made $300 million when he fought Pacquiao. Holyfield and Mike Iron Tyson didn't make that. They made about that in their whole career. This guy made it in one night, in 40 minutes, so in 36 minutes, and then you count 12 more minutes, of course, for rest. 48-minute night, Mayweather makes almost $300 million on the back end with pay-per-view versus Manny Pacquiao. And that's just the way it is. So, chalk it up. She was the better woman, the better boxer that night, and be a good sport,
Exactly. And you talking about this, oh, my goodness. We had the opportunity next, ladies and gentlemen, to see the GOAT. And when I say the GOAT, that's the greatest woman of all time. Display her skill set, Claressa Shields, in her fight against Savannah Marshall. I mean, Claressa went out there for the undisputed championship and fighting Savannah Marshall. Claressa went out there. She established herself. She established her range. She kept the jab out. She used the entire ring, Rick. She was able to stay on her feet, and she looked good with her lateral movement and her ability to take a punch as well as deliver, Rick. I was very impressed with the GOAT, Claressa Shields, and her display and skill set. It was redemption for her. She had been waiting for this over a decade in the Olympics and in amateurs to losing to Savannah Marshall. So this was redemption for Claressa Shields. And I was very impressed with the GOAT, with her boxing skills. I mean, she went over to the UK and did her thing as well, Rick.
No doubt. Absolutely. And I got to say this, hail to the GOAT. Queen Claressa, we love you so much, man, for all that you've done in the sport of boxing, female boxing, and what boxing has done for you. You went over there. I was concerned with the tempo that she came out because she set the tone of the fight from the first round. I was like, man, this is going to be a really good fight. If she could keep this pace up, can she, for 12 rounds, if it goes 12 or 10 rounds? And she did, and she let her hands go beautifully. And Claressa Shields was nothing less than a technician this past Saturday night. Every punch placement was like a red laser on it, man. Everything she threw, it landed, and it landed with vindication. And that's exactly what she was after. She wanted her vindication. She felt that she was robbed in the Olympics when she fought as an amateur versus Savannah, and that was her night. That was her moment. And like she said, hey, I'm not afraid of you. I'm coming in your backyard. And she came in her backyard, and let me tell you, she did it. She did the damn thing, man. Claressa Shields, hey, you got to bow down. All the haters, all the doubters, I bet you they love her now.
Absolutely,
Rick.
Absolutely,
and I just became a bigger fan.
She's been on here.
That was beautiful.
She's been on. She's definitely a friend of the show. She's been on, man, and a true display of boxing is what she delivered. Over 2 million viewers, Rick. Can you believe those numbers? Over 2 million viewers. I'm sure, as a promoter, you're looking to set up that rematch up again.
Absolutely, and here's the thing: you those kind of numbers, man. This is where it's so funny, Al, because Claressa Shields and the ladies got 2 million views, but now Bud Crawford and Earl Spence, they going back with this numbers war. I do more sales than him, and I do more. The ladies got 2 million sales, guys. Are you listening? And guess what? Whoever, Eddie Hearns, all of them over there in the O2 Arena, that is a huge, huge venue to even take a gamble or a risk to think that you're going to fill it up with nothing but a female card. That whole show was strictly ladies. And guess what?
Man, they rocked that stadium. I wish I could have been at that fight.
Absolutely. So now we leave the UK. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We leave in the UK now. Now we go further down the pond, as they say, to Australia, to Melbourne, Australia. And, oh, my goodness, man. The hype of this fight, you know, I've been looking and watching tape and talking, and we've been interviewing everyone, Rick, with the Devin Haney versus George Kambosos rematch. My goodness. And I must say, Rick, I was a little, after seeing Devin Haney in the weigh-in, I was a little nervous because I can't say in the weigh-in, Devin, first off, Rick, he appeared to be a little drained. Yeah. And I was concerned about his ability to rehydrate. Did you notice that, Rick, in your observation?
Absolutely, and they mentioned that too. You know, when they before they do their ring walk and they talk about that, and a lot of people were saying that they've had concerns that his legs wouldn't probably be up under him the same as they were in the first fight, and this is why we're getting to that 140 weight class division because he can't keep cutting that weight, making 35 anymore. But whatever his dad and him and his team came up with, they rehydrated him just fine, man. And let me tell you, we talked about this on the previous show that it was going to be a repeat of the first fight. All I said was Haney was probably going to turn it up a notch or two. And, man, he was like a locomotive train in there Saturday night. He ran away with that fight. I thought I was looking at Rocky when I saw Kambosos' face.
Absolutely. I mean, Devin Haney, he did switch the game up in this particular matchup. He more so that lead right hand was very damaging to George Kambosos, I must say. Haney more so caught him. George had his left hand down, and Haney would pop in with pop shot on him with that lead right hand. It was very spectacular. His feet movement was good, was great. His defense was great. He really came out unscarred, but yet battle-tested. I mean, George Kambosos was very aggressive as expected. He showed a little nervousness also in the weigh-in. I could see that the way that he was chewing his gum and the way that he was chewing it, Rick, it kind of demonstrated to me that he was kind of nervous, you know, during the weigh-in. Yeah. But nonetheless, after that, he also rehydrated good, and he stepped in there, and George Kambosos, he gave it all. I mean, he gave all that he had, Rick, even though he was, you know, up against one of the best pound-for-pound right-now boxers in top 10. And if Devin Haney didn't make your pound-for-pound list right now, I mean, you really don't know anything about boxing. With the skill set that Devin Haney displayed this weekend, and the skill set in the first fight, I mean, it aggravates me, and I get really upset about that, Rick, where they're not having Devin Haney in the top 10 pound-for-pound list in the world. When you're undisputed champion and you go back over to Australia to honor a rematch clause and beat that opponent again, hands down, I mean, total domination. And this guy had to, you know, George Kambosos wanted to, you know, try to knock your head off, and you went over there and you took care of business and dominated the former champion. It goes to say a lot about Devin Haney, Rick.
Absolutely, man. And here's the thing. Like in my Roger Mayweather voice, ESPN, whoever came out with that top 10 list, don't know ish about boxing.
Right.
There's no way.
Exactly.
There's no way this kid is the youngest undisputed world champion ever. And he done dominated this weight class, went over to this boy's country not once but twice, showed up, showed out, spanked him, tucked him in, put him to bed, and said night-night. And look here, not only that, I felt like I was looking at a Ray Leonard Duran with the no mouth. The way Haney was controlling the fight, it was just, man, it was so fine-tuned the blueprint that he brought back with him, and he just laid it out on the canvas like, all right, I'm going to hit you over here, here, with this, that, and the other all night long. Get ready, George. You know, you can't take nothing from Devin Haney, man. And I love the sportsmanship at the end with Devin Haney, Bill Haney, George Kambosa, and Kambosa's team. They hugged. They took pictures. There wasn't any bad blood. And George Kambosa gave Haney mad props. Mad props. And I love that. And,
right.
It's a gentleman's sport. It's a business at the end of the day, but it's still a gentleman's sport. You can talk trash, walk the walk, and talk the talk when the bell rings, but afterwards, it's a gentleman's sport. And that's how we need to not forget that and learn how to bring that back. Let's bring that back. You know what I mean? It's a gentleman's sport.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you, man. I mean, it was a great display of sportsmanship in the end. I was glad to see that they could come together and meet each other, in their locker rooms after the fight. No harsh feelings, at least not publicly displayed. I mean, both fighters acted with character, true gentlemen of the sport, and it was glad to see that. I was definitely glad to see that from both of those guys. Now, if you're Haney, Rick, I'm gonna throw this out to you. And just last week, when Devin's dad was on the show, Bill Haney was on the show, he said that after that fight, he threw it out there. And I'm sure you caught it too. He mentioned the word Lomachenko. He mentioned the name. Lomachenko would be next for Bill Haney, for Devin Haney. With that being
I told you they was gonna get that bag.
Right. With that being said, and taking in consideration how Devin Haney looked, okay, coming into the weigh-in, you know how drained and dehydrated he looked coming into that weigh-in in attempt to make that 135 weight. If you're Devin, do you consider really just going up to 140? I mean, he has to really be contemplating right now. Going up to 140 and dominate that division. I mean, what are your thoughts on that, Rick? 140 for Devin Haney.
I mean, not eventually. Right now is the time to go to 140. However, he got to hit the brakes, and that's what Bill Haney knows. He knows this is going to be a much bigger fight for him to take on Lomo than these two fights he beat down George Kambosa. Everybody's going to want to see this fight with him and Lomachenko. And here's the thing. Right now, if you're a true professional and you saw how he did rehydrate and how he appeared in the weigh-in of being drained, and he did, this is what you do now. And I'm sure Bill Haney and them already working with somebody. You get a dietitian, you get a nutritionist, and they come in camp, they work together, they come up with a meal plan where he can still eat, pack on, his protein and get what he needs to be strong and healthy to make that weight at 135 again, but lose it naturally where he don't have to really dry out as much. So I guarantee you, if they take that Lomo fight, they're going to have that.
It's tough though, Rick. Trying to make, Devin is 23 years old. He's getting older as the days go by. I mean, yes, he's still young. Don't get me wrong, but in boxing years, he's getting older, and his grown man strength and weight and size is starting to kick in. Okay?
Yeah, no doubt.
It's going to be far much more difficult to come in and be able to display that same amount of talent, that same amount of fortitude with the more talented Lomachenko against the more talented Shakur Stevenson. Okay? Because you and I both know that Loma and Shakur will give George Kambosos a run for will definitely outbox and have much more better skill set than a George Kambosos. So with that being said, and taking everything all in consideration, I'm more so I've defended this title twice, and I understand, I get it. I mean, that's a big money fight between Lomachenko and Devin Haney. I mean, big money fight. And really, some have. I've talked to people, Rick, over this entire week, and honestly, some people think on a worldwide perspective that Lomachenko versus Devin Haney is even a bigger fight than Spence versus Crawford.
Yeah, I can see that.
What do you think about that, Rick? Would that be a bigger fight with Lomachenko on a worldwide basis? Lomachenko versus Devin Haney, or Spence mega fight Spence versus Bud Crawford? Which one do you think is the bigger fight now, Rick?
I can see where they're going with that. Yes, Spence versus Bud would be a big fight, but Lomachenko versus Haney would be probably even a much, much bigger fight. And here's why, because check this out. The smaller guys, they seem to tend to not going through all the rigmarole and all the pulling back and stalling and this and that. And when they call it out one another, they want to fight. They get it done. They want to fight. Come on, let's do it. Meet me in the center of the ring. You know, it ain't going to be a bunch of BS involved with this fight getting made. Top rank Bob Arum is going to make that fight happen. It's going to be very marketable. It's going to be huge. It will probably be, and it's possible. It's just possible, because in boxing, anything is possible. But it is very possible, Al, that a Haney-Lomachenko fight surpasses the likes of a Bud Spence right now, especially since they feel like Bud and Earl don't have their stuff together. They're going to be like, hey, you know what? Y'all stand over there and figure it out. This fight right here is going to surpass you guys, and you're going to wish you had a fought. I can see why they're saying that. Yes. I probably would piggyback on that right now.
I know just the mention of it got you excited, Rick, because
man,
it's
like
definitely a huge fight.
I like that fight. I love it. I can't wait.
That's definitely a huge fight on a whole nother level, on a worldwide, on a global platform. With Loma being from right, and I'm bringing that to the United States. I'm sorry too, Rick. I'm not fighting. I'm not going to Dubai myself personally. I'm not going to the UK. I'm bringing that fight here to the US, man. If I'm Devin Haney and Devin Haney's camp, we got to have that fight in Vegas, Rick.
No doubt. Hey, Devin Haney's in the driver's seat right now because he's the undisputed champ. So the fight is going to be wherever he say when, where, what time, and how much I'm going to get paid. He is in charge right now. He's in a beautiful position. He can have his fight right up the street from his crib at the MGM Grand. Let's get ready to rumble, baby. Let's do it.
Or even, even if they wanted to take it to another the Staples Center or something. You know what I mean? But it would definitely be on U.S. territory. Loma would have to come over here. Right. Lomachenko would have to come over here. It would definitely be on our soil. I'm looking forward to that. And he's hungry. And Bob Arum, that's an in-house fight for Top Rank. Both fighters being represented by Top Rank. That's in-house. And Bob Arum can't wait. I mean, he is probably, he's probably working on the contract as we speak, Rick.
Right now. Right now. He is working on the contract.
And we get to see the return of Lomachenko on October 29th. He's fighting.
Yeah, in Madison Square.
Exactly. And that's a huge platform. I mean, Lomachenko loves fighting over here in the U.S., so he feels very comfortable coming over here. I would definitely like to see that fight. I don't know about Madison Square Garden in New York, but I definitely either Vegas or L.A. for that fight if I'm in the Bill Haney in Devin Haney camp.
Madison Square would be a epic place to have it. That'd be like Frazier Ali in 74 March, baby. And guess what? They have a huge Ukrainian presence in New York. That's why they love him so much in New York, like they love Deontay Wilder in Brooklyn.
Right. That's why I'm having it. That's why I'm having it in L.A. or California, in L.A. or Las Vegas.
True.
Exactly. Just for that very reason, I must confess. So So then, Rick, moving right along. There's so much to cover. Then we come over back to the U.S. Come back over, leave. We're leaving. Now, we done went to the U.K., and then we left the U.K., Rick, and went down to Australia, okay, to Melbourne, Australia. So now we come back over the pond, over to the United States of America. We're in Brooklyn, and the lights is on in New York, as usual. One of my favorite cities in the world, New York, Brooklyn, in the building. Wasn't it electrifying that night in the Barclays Center, Rick?
Man, let me tell you, Wilder is so loved in Brooklyn, in that Barclays Center. Man, when he came out, it's like everybody is standing and making noise and hollering, and Wilder is still a big draw. He's still a big ticket, and it doesn't matter who he fights, man. They're gonna come out in droves and flocks to see the Bronze Bomber and the Bomb Squad do their thing. And man, you talking about electrifying? Yes, it was. And he had been gone for a year. So it's like, with them saying, here comes Wilder, it's like even though boxing hasn't gone anywhere, it's kind of like saying boxing is back because Wilder is back. I don't know, but I just kind of get that feeling when I hear Wilder's getting ready to fight. It's like boxing's back, baby, because Wilder's fighting next month, next week, whatever, So yeah, man,
right.
He's truly loved, bro. He is loved.
Well, you know how it pretty much how it is, man. The heavyweight division pretty much still and always has been and probably always will carry the shoulders of boxing. Carry boxing on their shoulders. I apologize. Carry boxing on their shoulders. I mean, because the heavyweight division has always, like I say, always will run boxing, man. And true enough, we were in for a great night in Brooklyn in the Barclays Center. To start off with the Cuban, straight out of Cuba, Frank Sanchez. He went in and was very impressive against Carlos Negron. What you think about that performance?
Frank Sanchez, I've been watching him, but this past weekend, I think I became more of a fan of his because of the way he was putting his punches together and how gracefully he was moving. And he doesn't back down. He's not afraid. He ain't no punk. Frank Sanchez can fight. And he's got a fighter's chance, and he will be making some big money here real soon. And that was a great fight for him and a great stoppage, man.
Absolutely. I was and definitely impressed with his. He went on to become 21-0 now with 14 knockouts. He faced a very tough opponent. Very tough opponent from Puerto Rico, Carlos Negron, who was 25-3 at the time with 20 knockouts, who's now 25-4. I was very impressed. Frank Sanchez, as most Cuban fighters, are very technical, and that's what he displayed. His ability to be technical, his power, his elusiveness. I was very impressed with Frank Sanchez this weekend.
Yep, no doubt.
And then after
no
that,
doubt.
I'm going back and forth. I'm going back and forth. I'm looking at the phone. I'm watching the fights, and I'm looking what's going on at the same time. Now we got at the same time, Rick, of Haney versus Kambosos, we got Caleb Plant versus Anthony Durrell going on. Former two-time middleweight champ, super middleweight champ, and Anthony Durrell, and former super middleweight champ Caleb Plant. Unfortunately, things didn't work out for the two-time super middleweight champ Anthony Durrell, who was knocked out in the 9th round in a title eliminator by Caleb Plant.
Yeah, man, and let me let y'all know, Brawler Sports Media and In the Ring with Al Jones, we were in the building. We witnessed it. Let me say this, at the weigh-in, Durrell talked so much trash, man. It's like he really, really, really doesn't like Caleb Plant, and that's fine. It's a gladiator sport. But for whatever personal reasons, I don't know what the beef was really, really, truly about. But, man, let me tell you, He talked about Caleb Plant so bad, called him everything under the sun. You a bum. Who have you fought? You ain't fought nobody. And then Caleb comes back and says, hey, you a bum? Because you say I don't fight nothing but bums, but I'm fighting you tomorrow night, so are you a bum? Oh, my God. And then Darrell says, I ain't letting no white boy knock me out, man. You gotta eat egg all over your face now. And Darrell you could see the ring rust on him from the layoff. His timing was off. He was swinging way back away. He wasn't closing the gap. But then he started putting his punches together, and he started catching Caleb with a right hand. He hurt Caleb, I want to say, maybe the 6th, 7th round with a choppy right hand. And he kind of veered away from it. And here's what happened. When Caleb went to the body with the left hook, which was beautiful, because you always supposed to come back up top with that hook to the head. He went to the body with the left hook. Darrell caught that with his right elbow. Beautiful, right? But then Darrell said, this is a good time to counter him. But when he countered back with his left hook, you dropped your right hand. You supposed to counter with your left hook with that right hand nice and high, covering the side of your cheek and your chin. But he didn't. And then Caleb came back at the same time from the body and clipped him right on the chin. Beautiful.
Yes, it was perfectly timed. He was a step. And that was his demonstration of age, because Caleb was definitely a step ahead and a bit quicker. Sweet Hands was a little bit quicker than the two-time super middleweight champ Anthony Darrell. And like you said, he let that mitt down. He let his mitts down. He was supposed to keep the phone up to his ear, and he took the phone down, Rick, as most coaches would tell you, keep that phone up to your ear when you throwing that shot, when you throwing that left hook. And he slipped and let it down, and definitely Caleb Plant had it timed perfectly and laid Anthony Darrell out.
It was hilarious because after that, Caleb was going around the ring like he was shoveling dirt, throwing it in the grave on top of Darrell like, I bury you.
Right.
Oh my! But you know what? Had the tables turned, Darrell would have done the same thing to him. So I can't say it was poor sportsmanship because it was such an ugly trial leading up to the fight with all that had been said, all the degrading things that had been said to Caleb Plant. So I see why he was, in his own feelings after the knockout. He's like, hey, he was just like, man, you could go to where and start shoveling dirt on him, like, get him out of here.
Right. So do you think at this point, do you think it's retirement for Anthony Darrell right now?
Yeah, it's time to go. He's much older now. It's time for him to walk away. Al Heyman did him proud. He made some money. Whatever he did with it, I don't know. So,
Right. He has enough money.
I think retirement. Yeah.
If I'm Anthony Darrell, based on that performance, because I would hate for Anthony to now become a gatekeeper for the super middleweight division after being two-time middleweight champ. I really would hate for him to become a gatekeeper, of the sport. So if I'm Anthony Darrell, I hope he did save up some money, so he could go ahead, Rick, and retire. I mean, he's a cancer patient survivor. He survived cancer, a true gentleman, so I would definitely hate that.
Yeah, no doubt. It's time to do something else. Maybe he'll get some commentating gigs like most of them do. Maybe he'll jump into the promotion side and start promoting fighters and all of that.
Right. Yeah, most definitely, man. So big up. And then so after that, like I said, we went on on a tough night to Deontay Wilder. It was great. It was very electrifying. The building had erupted when Deontay Wilder came out. It was good to see I guess he never announced retirement.
These niggas ready doing the whole segment?
What's that, Rick?
Yeah. Okay, that was some Go ahead, finish, Al.
Yeah, it was good to see. It was definitely good to see him coming into, definitely good to see the return of Deontay Wilder.
No doubt, man. It was very good to see that, and we're gonna see. I've heard. I don't know if this is true. My people are telling me on the WBC side that they're gonna make Andy Ruiz and Deontay Wilder fight for an elimination bout to fight for the WBC title.
Absolutely.
So,
and hold that thought, Rick, because we on In the Ring with Al Jones, we always have a very great guest on the show. Our special guest today. I got to bring this gentleman on, a true gentleman and a scholar within himself, ladies and gentlemen, a surprise guest. A gentleman, he's in the process of coming out with a documentary film called Executioners. I'm gonna let him. And I can't wait to talk to him about this. Actor, comedian, now producer from Ohio. It's been brought to my attention also. I got to bring him on, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show, In the Ring with Al Jones and Rick Muhammad. Dannon Green. Dannon, welcome to In the Ring, man.
Hey, man, thank you guys so much for having me, man. Rick, what it do? My mans, as they say in New York,
up, baby?
Al, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be on with you guys today.
Thank you so much. So, I let the fans know we can get straight to it. You're in the process.
Yeah.
Now, you've been an actor, a very successful actor career, a very funny comedian. I mean, world known all over the United States on the comedian. Now you're jumping into production. Can you explain your new production that you have going on in docufilm Executioners?
Yes. First of all, thank you guys so much for having me again. I've done a lot in the game. I met Rick about maybe 6-7 years ago when Montel Griffin was being inducted into the California Boxing Hall of Fame. I went to the event, and that's where Rick and I kind of first met. And, man, we've been partners ever since. I've been doing a lot of stand-up. Most people know me from stand-up and commercials and things like that. But over the last number of years, I've been writing screenplays because I want to get in behind the scenes and I want to make movies. But I came up with this idea to do this documentary about this gym out of Philadelphia called The Executioners, and that's because I used to fight for them when I was a kid. I was 13-3 as an amateur. I didn't have a lot, but I won the Golden Glove twice out of Columbus, Ohio. So I won them out of Huntington and Charleston, West Virginia. So I got involved with boxing. I've been involved with boxing all my life. And actually what happened was, man, I had went home one time to do a comedy show, ran into one of my old stablemates, and I asked him about one of our trainers. I knew one trainer had died, and I knew the other one was alive. And when he told me the other one was alive, I said, give me his number. So he gave me his number. I called this was August of 2017. And then October of that year, I decided to call him. I said, you know what, let me call Frank to see how he was doing. And Al and Rick, I didn't talk to this man in over 30 or 40 years. And when I called him, I said, hey, Frank, how you doing? This is Dannon Green. I used to box for you when I was a kid. And he goes, Dannon Green. He said, Dannon Green, Southpaw, Felton Street, good fighter. Yeah, I remember you. And it just almost made me cry, man. I was like, damn, this man remembered me all these years, knew I was a Southpaw, everything. You know what I mean? So,
right.
I kept, remembering, thinking about the gym and the stories behind it. And I said to him, Frank, I really would like to do the story about the Executioners. I said, I think it's a story there. And he said to me, man, I always thought that it was a story, but people in the inner city or people that are not connected to Hollywood, they don't know how to get it out there to the world. You know what I mean? Especially older people. Yeah. So I said, can I do the story? He said, yeah. So, man, I just started researching and doing all that, and I wound up putting the doc together. And so last year, I actually had a screening for it last year at Kevin Hart Studios out here in California. And it was a packed house, sold out and everything. And then I sent Ricardo the doc too, and he was like, yo, this is hot. So I've been trying to get it, I was trying to get it placed. So I had it on Tubi. And then what happened was, when I had it on Tubi, I had it on Tubi for about 4 months, and it was doing well. I wound up getting an interview with Bernard Hopkins. He wound up doing an interview for it. So I went back in and then revamped the whole, the ending, how it ended, and added Bernard Hopkins. So then, as I got ready to release that, I wind up connected with Sean O'Grady. And Sean O'Grady, because he knew about the fighters, and then I wound up interviewing Sean O'Grady. So now I have a completely different documentary, more powerful, I believe, definitely more star power. And now that I have Sean O'Grady, I got, Bernard Hopkins, Malik Scott, who now trains Deontay Wilder, Buddy McGirt, Mark Breland, Shane Mosley, Sam Watson. I mean, I got the gamut, you know what I mean, of people in the doc. And so we're screening it this coming Saturday. I'm finally showing it back home in Philadelphia for the first time. And, bro, tickets are selling like hotcakes.
Right. So it's a red carpet event this Saturday at the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts, correct?
Yes, sir. In Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And, man, I'm just so excited. Philly is, I'm getting calls from the East Coast now. People are like, yo, I'm going to come. And I'm really doing this, man, and I really mean it, guys. This isn't for me. This is for my trainer. And these are for these two men who, as we know, being city guys, opened up a gym to really take the boys off the street and wind up creating one of the top gyms that the country ever saw.
Right. And hold that thought for a minute right there, Danny. We got to go to traffic, and then when we come back, I want you to elaborate a little bit more. Hey, Lorenzo, what's going on in Cleveland with traffic?
Good evening. This traffic update sponsored by Compassion International. Taking our last look at the traffic for your commute. There are a few accidents to report. Look out for a crash on Cedar Road at Coventry Road that's slowing things down just a bit. Another accident reported on Rockside Road, just east of Crossview Road. And if you're on Stowe Road, there's an accident causing more delays just north of Call Road.
Families in poverty are facing a global food crisis. $50 provides a food kit to feed a family for a month. Just text the word radio to 97646.
I'm Lorenzo Ware on Cleveland's News Talk 1490 WERE AM, the People Station.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to In the Ring with Al and Rick. And today we have special guest, Dannon Green, actor, comedian, producer now. He has a red carpet event going on in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania this weekend at the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts this Saturday, October 22nd. And before we left, Danny, you was explaining to us a little bit more how this document series, The Executioners, came about.
Right. So again, as I was saying, I'm really producing this documentary for my trainer because, as young men and as definitely black men, especially men that are box, we understand the discipline that it goes into boxing, and the people really don't understand. If you get involved with boxing at a young age, for at least 2 years or 3, that's a discipline that stays with you the rest of your life. And I really feel that because of these men, that was one of the reasons that a lot of us made it. Now, the story is not a rah-rah story. This story is really about these guys that could have been really world champions, but some of them made bad errors, bad moves, and it cost them. And that's what the story is about. So this is a documentary film that can really help anybody of any age, because it really shows you what can happen when men put you on the right path, or man or woman, however you want to look at it, and you get on the right path. But if you stick to the guns, then you can be okay. But in this case, the story talks about these people and the moves that they made. And Ricardo saw the documentary, so he knows kind of the dynamics. There's a really big lot of the up and down twisting that goes with the story.
Absolutely.
Okay, sounds good. I'm definitely looking forward to hearing that. And so you have this all-star cast. You got B-Hop in there, quote unquote, used to be also named the Executioner. Does it have anything to reflect on Bernard Hopkins' life also?
Well, no. Well, we do interview Bernard. I interviewed Bernard, and I asked him how he got started. But the controversy was we were called the Executioner, and then Bernard took that name. So we beat Bernard twice in the amateur. My boy beat Bernard as the amateur. So it was always that controversy there. So when Bernard heard about the documentary and we talked, I asked Bernard, I said, man, would you be willing to go ahead and do an interview? He said, yeah. I said, but look, before you do the interview, I want to send you the documentary first so that you can see what they felt. You know what I mean? So this way, if you feel like, I don't have to mess with this, he doesn't have to. Well, I sent the documentary to Bernard, and I said to myself, I'm not going to call him. I'm not going to call to see if he likes it or not. I figure if he calls me, then he'll want to talk. So the whole next day went by. And then I get a text from him, and Bernard was like, hey, man, you did these guys a service, man. This is an excellent documentary. He said, and I'll be willing to do an interview for you. And that was the hit. And I asked Bernard hard questions, and he answered it. Now, I had to interview like you guys are doing me. I had to be neutral. You know what I mean? I couldn't say, oh, man, you took it from us. I couldn't do that. I had to be neutral and just let him tell his story. And I'll leave it at that so that when people see it, I won't give it away. But he said what he said. One thing about this documentary, nothing is fabricated. It's all truth. You know what I mean? It's all what they say. So I didn't add anything. Even when I narrated, I didn't go, oh man, well, this happened, but it didn't really happen. I didn't do a documentary where I added people just to add them. You know what I mean? Everybody here, and you'll see the story ties all in together. I can't lie to you, man. Sometimes I'm like, I can't believe I did it. You know what I mean? But just because how tight it is. You know what I'm saying? But but the story's great, and Bernard Hopkins did us a solid, because he didn't have to do the interview, and then when I got Sean O'Grady just he was great too, man. So yeah.
That's good, man. I mean, because a lot of good boxing, you're having it in a great place in Philadelphia. A lot of good boxers, a lot of great gyms. Even Prince Nazim, even Coach Nazim Richards. I mean,
God rest his soul.
Yes. All peace be upon him. It's so much good boxing coming out of Philadelphia. The red carpet event is in a great place once again. That's at the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts. And tell me this, Dannon, where can people get tickets at?
Okay, so first thing I want to say one thing. I was born in New York, raised in Philly, because you said Ohio. But I want to say what's up to Ohio because I went to grad school at Ohio State, so I'm a Buckeye. I went to college in Ohio. So
I knew it was some Ohio in there down in Columbus. I knew it was some Ohio in there. So that's good. Right. We helped mold you at a very crucial point in your life also. So you came to get your graduate education from.
Yes, and believe it or not, I won the Golden Gloves while I was in grad school. You know what I mean? So I was in the newspaper for that because they was like, this dude's getting the master's in computer animation, and he winning Golden Gloves. So, I kind of, killed the stereotype of what a fighter is supposed to look like or come from.
Right. That's real good. And right now, the Cleveland Guardians, we're going at it against the Yankees. I'm sure you're going with the Guardians right now in Major League Baseball in the playoffs, right?
Well, I'm actually going with the Phillies, but we won't talk about that. We won't talk about that. Hey, I'm the Eagles. Hey, we win right now in Philly. We got the Eagles winning, and we got the Phillies. So we doing our thing.
Right. Okay, you with the Phillies. That's good to know too. Yeah. Instead of the Yankees.
And they can't stand. I'm sorry. And they can't stand that with me living out here in L.A. You know what I mean?
Right.
You wearing all the Eagles gear.
I got the hat and I got a wool hat on and a shirt just to prove a point. It's 85 out this month. I got a wool hat. I'm wearing it.
that.
He
Hey,
represents
but man, you
the
mentioned everybody. Now, once you get ready to go to film, you know I got to get this in, Danny. You mentioned everybody except for Al Jones and Rick Muhammad. So once this goes, we're going from a documentary to a movie. Once we get ready to go for a movie, you got to call me and Ricky in, man, and get us back out there in L.A. so we can get in the movie with you.
No doubt.
All right, you know what? Y'all got that coming. See, let me tell you about Rick. Rick's my man. See, I don't know too many light-skinned brothers that look good that can fight. Now, he's one of them. You know what I mean? So I need Rick around to pull the ladies for me. So, you got a part. You know what I mean? You know.
Right.
And Al, I knew you used to put in work. Al, I know you used to put in work. So y'all ain't got to worry about that. It's good to see brothers and black men, man, up on the game and doing what they do. And again, man, Rick has been one of my biggest fans and supporters, man. And, what I really appreciated was when he looked at the doc, he really looked at it. He gave me his insight. He really, the thing when you do a boxing documentary is when you show it to a boxer, they're going to let you know if it's good or not. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Because we know boxing and we know stories.
Exactly.
Al, what makes this documentary so great, this is the first boxing documentary ever done in the history about a boxing team. You can Google boxing teams. You have never seen one done. You would have thought they would have did one on Kronk. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Or you would have thought they would have did one on the New York gym and then or the one in Miami. There has never been a boxing documentary about a team. And what makes this so unique, everybody, each one of us was homegrown. 639 wins, 84 losses. Nobody came from another gym. That record came from one particular gym. And that's what makes this boxing documentary so unique.
That's awesome, man. I'm so proud of you, Dannon Green. And like I said, let the fans know where they can get tickets, for our listeners in Philly.
Okay, so for all my listeners in Philadelphia, you can go to Eventbrite, Eventbrite, I think it's Event or Ebrite, whatever they call it, and I think it's Eventbrite, and order the tickets. I really want people to order online. You can pay. It's $25 online, $30 at the door. But because tickets are selling, if you don't get there early, it doesn't guarantee you to get in. You know what I mean? So I really encourage people to try to get it at the door. And what I can do is I'll go ahead and send Ricardo the link, and then maybe you can put it out to you. I'll send it right when I get off. You send it to your people and let them know. But, hey, man, I want to thank you guys so much, man, for the opportunity to speak. And I hope that Rick can make it out there. But Rick did sponsor, and one big shout-out to Ricardo, man. This brother went out and sponsored some tickets for the event for me, man. He didn't have to, and I appreciate that.
That's awesome.
My man.
Before you go, real quick, what's your social media contact information, Danny?
Oh, please, everyone, please follow me and hit me up and ask questions. You can locate me at Dannon Green 66. That's DANNON Green GREEN 66 or Dannon Green. I always tell people I don't tweet because if I tweet, I'm gonna get in trouble. I don't type fast enough, so I'm just gonna go ahead. If you wanna holler at me on Instagram, and I promise you, man, I'll get back with you. But please, anybody that's a boxing fan anywhere, I'm telling you, this documentary, I may even try to start selling it. In the link, because I'm telling anybody right now, this is one of the best boxing documentaries ever done, and I'm not trying to toot my horn. This is one of the best.
Dannon Green, ladies and gentlemen, from the documentary film Executioners. It's been a great show.
We all had a chance.
See you guys next week, 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, in the ring with Al Jones and Rick Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Let's go, champ.
The proceeding was a paid program brought to you by Al Jones. The views and opinions expressed are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of this station or its management. 1490 WERE, Cleveland Heights, WZAK HD3 Cleveland, an Urban One radio station minority controlled and operated and serving the African American community for over 40 years.
This is Keep It Real Tupac.
Every rapper, you got a record out, you got to come to a free show for the hood. That's real.